Prasad Swami Maharaj, Srimad Devotees, Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, Thakur Prabhupada ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki, Prem se Guru Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki, Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopina, Samakunda Radha Kunti ki Gopadan ki, Vrindavan Dham ki, Mathura Ram ki, Navadvip Dham ki, Mayapur Dham ki, Jagannathpuri Dham ki, Ganga Mai ki, Yamuna Mai ki, Tulsi Devi ki, Bhakti Devi ki, Samavanta Bhakta Vrinda ki, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki, Brihad Vidanga ki, Nitai Gaur Premanandi. All glory to the assembled devotees, all glory to the assembled devotees, all glory to the assembled devotees, all glory to Shri Guru, Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading today from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, 4th chapter, text number 20. Sa evam ārādhita-pāda-tīrthād adhīta-tattvātma-vibodha-mārgaḥ praṇamya pādau parivṛtya devam ihāgato aham virahāturātmā sa eva ārādhita-pāda-tīrthād adhīta-tattvātma-vibodha-mārgaḥ praṇamya pādau parivṛtya devam ihāgato aham virahāturātmā eva ārādhita-pāda-tīrthād adhīta-tattvātma-vibodha-mārgaḥ praṇamya pādau parivṛtya devam ihāgato aham virahāturātmā
pada parivṛtya devam ihāgato virahāturātmā
parivṛtya devam ihāgato aham virahāturātmā
evam ārādhita-pāda-tīrthād adhīta-tattvātma-vibodha-mārgaḥ praṇamya pādau parivṛtya devam ihāgato aham virahāturātmā
Vaishnavi.
praṇamya pādau parivṛtya devam ihāgato aham virahāturātmā
adhīta-tattvātma-vibodha-mārgaḥ praṇamya pādau parivṛtya devam ihāgato aham virahāturātmā evam ārādhita-pāda-tīrthād adhīta-tattvātma-vibodha-mārgaḥ praṇamya pādau parivṛtya devam ihāgato aham virahāturātmā praṇamya pādau parivṛtya devam ihāgato aham virahāturātmā
So myself, evam, thus, ārādhita, worshipped, pāda-tīrthāt, from the personality of Godhead, adhīta, studied, tattva-ātma, self-knowledge, vibodha, understanding, margaḥ, path, praṇamya, after saluting, pādau, at his lotus feet, parivṛtya, after circumambulating, devam, the Lord, iha, at this place, āgataḥ, reached, aham, I, viraha, separation, ātura-ātmā, aggrieved in self. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. I have studied the path of understanding self-knowledge from my spiritual master, the Personality of Godhead. And thus, after circumambulating him, I have come to this place very much aggrieved due to separation. Everyone can please repeat. I have studied the path of understanding, self-knowledge, from my spiritual master, the Personality of Godhead. And thus, after circumambulating him, I have come to this place, very much aggrieved due to separation. Purport. Sri Uddhava's actual life is a direct symbol of the Chatushloki Bhagavatam enunciated first to Brahmaji by the Personality of Godhead. These four very, very great and important verses from Srimad Bhagavatam are particularly taken out by the mayavadi speculators, who construe a different purport to suit their impersonal view of monism. Here is the proper answer to such unauthorized speculators. The verses of Srimad Bhagavatam are purely theistic science, understandable by the postgraduate students of Bhagavad Gita. The unauthorized dry speculators are offenders at the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna because they distort the purports of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam to mislead the public and prepare a direct path to hell known as āradhita-pāda-tīrthād. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 16:20, such envious speculators are without knowledge and are surely condemned life after life. They necessarily take shelter of Sripad Shankaracharya, but he was not so drastic as to commit an offense at the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. According to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sripad Shankaracharya preached the mayavadi philosophy for a particular purpose. Such a philosophy was necessary to defeat the Buddhist philosophy of the non-existence of the spirit soul, but it was never meant for perpetual acceptance. It was an emergency. Thus, Lord Krishna was accepted by Shankaracharya as the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his commentation on Bhagavad Gita. Since he was a great devotee of Lord Krishna, he did not dare any commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam because that would have been a direct offense at the lotus feet of the Lord. But later speculators, in the name of Mayavada philosophy, unnecessarily make their commentary on the Chatushloki Bhagavatam without any bona fide intent. Om Jnana-timirandasya ganam shalakaya chakshurum militam yena tasmai Sri Gurave namaha Vichaitanya manobishtam stapitam yena bhutale swayam rupa kadahyam tadati swapadantikam Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastyatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivashari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So I'm just stopping here in the middle of the purport. It's a long purport to go over some points, as it is Kali Yuga, and one can forget with so many details. So, first, Srila Prabhupada speaks about Uddhava's qualification. He was so qualified that, as it says in previous verses, that he received an order from the Lord, you must go to Badarik Ashram. But he decided, how can I possibly how can I resist being with the Lord? How can I undergo such separation? So he followed the Lord. And the Lord knew that. And the Lord wanted that. Because his intense feelings of Krishna Prema were so strong, he couldn't fathom going to Badarik Ashram and just getting some knowledge, even from Narayan Rishi, although he did so later. But as long as Krishna was on the planet, he could not tolerate. Just like Sri Haridas Thakur. Sri Haridas Thakur, when he understood that the Lord was preparing to leave this world, Govinda would regularly take him prasadam. And he came and to give Haridas prasadam. I'm not hungry today. I haven't finished my rounds. And so Govinda said, but always take prasadam. So he took a little bit of prasadam. And immediately Govinda reported to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Mahaprabhu immediately came to see him. What's wrong, Haridas? I haven't finished my round. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you chanted enough rounds for lakhs of lifetimes. Why do you... No problem. And then he revealed his heart. He said, my Lord, I know that you are about to finish up your pastimes. And how could I possibly bear your separation, even for one moment? Shunyayitam jagat sarvam indavirahina me. How can I tolerate? So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, well, I feel the same way. How can I tolerate your... If you leave, then how can I tolerate your separation? We have a problem here, a dilemma. Checkmate, as they say in chess. So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, I will come back, and I will decide. And then he came back, and he, of course, it's a beautiful long story, but as Haridas cried with unlimited tears, the Lord put his lotus feet on his chest, and Haridas left. And Lord Chaitanya carried his body in kirtan. This is how much the Lord loves his devotee. So therefore, Krishna allowed, even though he had already given an instruction, you go to Badarik Ashram. Because he also knew that Uddhava, he will have very great difficulty to tolerate my leaving this world. Better he goes somewhere and then... So, but he followed him. And then he stayed at a little distance, just observing the Lord, just drinking the nectar of his beauty. And then Maitreya Rishi came. Maitreya Rishi was a devotee, but he had some tinge of impersonal philosophy. So he sat down to be instructed by the Lord, but the Lord actually instructed Uddhava. He was speaking to Uddhava. Not only that, but some of the things, as it says in a few previous verses, some of the things Maitreya could not understand. This is the nature of devotional service. Just like yesterday we heard a class by Srila Prabhupada, here in the purport, it says that this Bhagavatam is meant for postgraduate students of Bhagavad Gita. So Prabhupada was saying, knowledge, when you have real knowledge, when you have transcendental knowledge, it's not for everyone. Not everyone can understand it. No. And then, just like in university, you have graduates, it's a lesser number than the general population. And then you have postgraduates, and even a lesser number that can really qualify in that way. No. So, and what to speak at this point in time, although Srila Prabhupada says that Uddhava's life was the emblem of the Chatushloki verses. But actually the Chatushloki verses, well, I'll wait a little while. I think that's coming up later in the purport. No. They're dealing with the creation, Brahma, instructions to Brahma. Of course, they are the seed from which will sprout the 10th canto of Bhagavatam, then the whole Bhagavatam, and especially the 10th canto. So that wasn't revealed to Brahma at that point in time. No. And So, but Uddhava wanted to understand that. But he didn't request directly, please let me know something according to my adhikar. That would be pride. He said, just if it's your desire, you can give me the knowledge that of the Chatur Shloki as you gave to Brahmaji. And if not, whatever you desire. This is the attitude of approaching the Lord. Now here in this verse, the words pāda-tīrthād are significant because the Lord is described as he whose feet is a place of pilgrimage. The lotus feet of the Lord, a devotee approaches, even though a devotee like Uddhava was so intimate, as Revati Raman Prabhu mentioned in his class, that Krishna sent him to Vrindavan to understand Gopi Bhava. So qualified. But even though being so qualified, a devotee, when he's qualified, his qualification is thinking he's not qualified. This is the best qualification. That one thinks, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu revealed, we may have so many positions in Varnashram, we may have so many designations, upadhis. Just like sometimes when I give a class, especially here in India, they read off a whole list of my upadhis. And then I have to say, now please help me get rid of them. No. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, yeah, anyone can have any position, but the real position is dasa dasa anudasa. That's the real position. So, such elevated, even the Chatur Shloki as it stands, even the Mayavad philosophers can't understand it, what to speak of commenting on it. And here in his purport, Srila Prabhupada, of course, condemns them, saying they will simply have to live birth after birth in a demoniac species. Such demons. Many times Srila Prabhupada said, Mayavad philosophy is the greatest demoniac action you can do. A demon may do so many horrible things, but generally speaking, it's limited. But the Mayavadis have contaminated the whole planet with their philosophy. As Ravindra Sarup said in one of his early books, that when he first came to the movement, he heard this Prabhupada saying Mayavad, Mayavad, and he thought it was some indigenous tribe in India. But then he realized it was me, that we were all contaminated by this Mayavad philosophy. So Srila Prabhupada says here, Shripad Shankaracharya, he had a mission that Mayavadam asach chakram, he spoke to Parvati and he said that Prachchanam bhaudumuchate, that my dear Parvati, mayavadi Devi, that I have a special mission in Kali Yuga. Kalo Brahmana Murtina. I have to come as a Brahmana and I will preach this hidden, my real identity will be hidden. And I will speak qualified Buddhism. Otherwise Buddhism with some qualification in it. But basically Buddhist philosophy with some Vedic backing. And so therefore, just like Jai and Vijay, sometimes Maya Devi, sometimes the devotees, they have to perform some difficulty. But he said that Narayanam paro vyaktat, that Narayan is beyond everything. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He stated this in his commentary to Bhagavad Gita. And at the end of his Leela, he said, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Mudamate, that telling all of his disciples and followers, just worship Govinda. No, just worship Govinda. No. Sampapte, sanihite, no, kale, that nahi nahi rakshati durhin karane, that you won't be saved from death by grammatical jugglery, putting suffixes and prefixes and moving things around. You won't be saved. No. So therefore, he did not touch the Bhagavatam. But his unscrupulous followers, they're not even real followers because they don't follow their acharya. No. They make commentaries. Not only did they make commentaries, but they, in some cases, in some Puranas, because the Puranas were in their hands, they were in charge of most temples for many, many centuries. And they made little changes here and there. No. Even some of the Puranic quotes in Nectar of Devotion you won't find in modern versions. You go to a bookstore and get your Sanskrit copy of some Puranas, and you won't find the quotes of Rupa Goswami that Rupa Goswami is quoting. So that's some things from this first. I'll finish the purport now. The monistic dry speculators have no business in the Srimad Bhagavatam because this particular Vedic literature is forbidden for them by the great author himself. Sri Vyasadeva has definitely forbidden persons engaged in religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and finally salvation from trying to understand Srimad Bhagavatam, which is not meant for them. Pipataye Bhagavatam. No, it is meant to be drunk by those who are honest and thoroughly, as Srila Prabhupada indicates here. Bhagavatam 1.1.2. There's one verse in the second canto toward the end of the second chapter. Pibantiye Bhagavata Atmana Satam Katamritam Shravanaputishu Sambritam. That one should drink this Bhagavatam. You drink it with your ears. No. We drink with our mouth, but you have to learn to drink with the ears. And what is the effect? That punantiye vishaya vidushita shayam. It will eliminate all of the gross materialistic conceptions and misconceptions. No. Materialistic conceptions for us are all misconceptions. And brajati chachcharana sarodohantikam. And it will deliver you, this Bhagavatam will deliver you to the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Shripad Sridhar Swami, the great commentator on Srimad Bhagavatam, has definitely forbidden the salvationists or monists to deal in Srimad Bhagavatam. It is not for them. Yet such unauthorized persons perversely try to understand Srimad Bhagavatam, and thus they commit offenses at the feet of the Lord, which even Sripad Shankaracharya dared not to do. Thus they prepare for their continuation of miserable life. It's interesting that Srila Sridhar Swami, he lived in a time when Mayavad philosophy had just been unleashed and was so powerful. He was surrounded by Mayavadis. And therefore, in his commentary, he uses their language. One time I asked Banu Maharaj, why don't you translate that? He said, well, it's difficult. There's so many, the language is difficult because it sounds like Mayavad, but it's actually Krishna consciousness. And he had to put it in that language. When you're preaching, you have to speak in such a way that the audience will understand. But his commentary was not accepted by the local Brahmins, the Mayavadis. They challenged him. They said, this is an unauthorized commentary. No. And so he was in Varanasi at that time. And so he said, no, my commentary must stand. So they made a challenge. They said, then we will put your commentary to the test. We will put it on the altar of Vishwanath, of Lord Shiva, and let's see what happens. Well, he accepted. He accepted. He had full faith in the potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then, of course, stories can be a little different. Some people say it was revealed in a dream to the mayavadis. And another version is that in the morning when they opened the doors, there was a verse. Aham bed me, shuko beti, vyasa beti navesi vat. That I may know the Bhagavatam. And this was compiled by Lord Shiva. And Shukadev may know the Bhagavatam. And Vyasa, maybe he knows, maybe he doesn't know. How can that be? He spoke the Bhagavad, he spoke the Vedas, he spoke the Bhagavatam. He was, Narada Muni corrected him so that the Bhagavatam would become fuller and more complete. But Bhaktya Bhagavatam Grahyam. The Bhagavatam can only be understood through pure devotional sartikaya, not by speculation and not by so many tikas. No. It has to be revealed by a devotee. But the devotee himself may not understand everything. As Srila Prabhupada said, what is the qualification to speak? What is the qualification of Guru? That you simply repeat, don't add, don't subtract. You may have to bottle it so the audience can understand, but no subtractions, no additions. So when they saw that, they accepted his commentary. And so his commentary was reluctantly accepted by these Mayavad philosophers. Srila Prabhupada, just finishing the purport. It should be particularly noted herein that Uddhava studied the Chatushloki Bhagavatam directly from the Lord, who spoke them first to Brahmaji. And this time, the Lord explained more confidentially the self-knowledge mentioned as the paramam stitim. Just like Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, idam tatte guyatamam prabhaksham yana suyave. I will explain something even more confidential, but because you have the most perfect qualification, you have no envy. The Bhagavatam begins in that way. This Bhagavatam is meant for those who are nimatsaranam satam. They are completely free from envy. So many of us may say, especially myself, how can I hear this Bhagavatam? By the mercy of the pure devotee. One time Srila Prabhupada, one devotee said, Srila Prabhupada, it's very difficult to understand, to follow these four regulated principles. He said, actually Prabhupada, for me it's impossible. And Prabhupada said, yes, it is impossible. So some not so strict devotees, maybe 2 out of 4. And so, but then Prabhupada said, but by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it is possible. And so, just like one devotee, when Prabhupada was giving the Nectar of Devotion series in Vrindavan, and one devotee, when he said that, Rupa Goswami says that one must have practiced devotional, if they've taken up devotional service, they must have practiced in their previous life. So, and maybe they were even demigods. So one devotee said, Prabhupada, were we demigods in our previous life? Prabhupada said, no. It is the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So even though one may have been a demigod or a devotee or whatever, our position is that it is by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the Parampara, and in our movement, Srila Prabhupada. So now he's explaining it more confidentially Maitreya Muni could not, sometimes I think we've all had the experience, we'll be in a class and there's some points that we don't understand. Just like Srila Prabhupada, he said to the devotees, when my Guru Maharaj spoke, he was so elevated, I could only understand 25%. But I was always anxious to hear. And that was the reason when Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur came and Srila Prabhupada was introduced, he said, I know him. He likes to hear. And so that was his qualification. And that is all of our qualification, as Rukmini Raman Prabhu was saying so nicely yesterday. Hearing, of course, not hear in one ear and out the other. No. It's should retain it, shmarana. No. And then act on it. No. Upon hearing such self-knowledge of love, Uddhava felt very much aggrieved by feelings of separation from the Lord. Unless one is awakened to the stage of Uddhava, everlasting feeling of separation of the Lord in transcendental love, as exhibited by Lord Chaitanya also, one cannot understand the real import of the 4 essential verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam. One should not indulge in the unauthorized act of twisting the meaning and therefore putting himself on the dangerous path of offense. So this last statement, I found it very, very, very important. Sometimes we develop what I call the older devotee symptom, or syndrome, where now I'm an older devotee. Now I don't have to offer obeisances to the Vaishnavas, just 1 or 2 special ones. Now I know better. Now I have my own idea. So it may sound like twisting the meaning. Like, well, we're not mayavadi philosophers, we're devotees. But we also have to be careful not to twist the meaning that Srila Prabhupada has given in his books and given to this movement as the purpose of this movement, which is to spread love of God. And therefore Srila Prabhupada says in his purport, upon learning such self-knowledge of love. Otherwise it sounds in the verse like it's just some atma-tattva, some atma-tattva understanding. No, Srila Prabhupada puts in that word love. It is bhakti. And that bhakti, if you want to really understand that bhakti, then you have to awaken to the stage of Uddhava. Because what we're getting, even though we're not, well, at least in my case, not qualified, by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by the mercy of our acharyas, and by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Krishna Prema Pradayate, he came to give this understanding of loving devotional service. And he taught it personally. Even Advaita-charya, when he was summoned by the devotees, please do something. You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he said, I'm a subordinate personality of Godhead. This can only be done by Krishna himself. Can only be done by Krishna. No, I cannot do it. And therefore Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came. And by his mercy. Now how do we get that mercy? Certainly we have to read Srila Prabhupada's books. But for the mercy as a great catalyst, for that mercy to enter into our hearts and into our consciousness, if we distribute Srila Prabhupada's books, then this is a wonderful catalyst that will bring this understanding. Even if you can't go out and distribute books, you're a pujari, then you dress the deities in such a way that you think anyone who comes will be attracted to this Sankirtan movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Srila Prabhupada says in the Antya Lila, in one purport, that Lord Chaitanya's mission was to spread the Sankirtan movement. He had his own confidential reasons for coming, but his mission was to spread the Sankirtan movement. And therefore, this last part of the purport is very, very important, because it indicates that we have to, how do we get this possibility to understand Srimad Bhagavatam, to understand the Chatushloki and its expansion in the form of Bhagavatam, and its expansion in the form of Chaitanya Charitamrita, and its expansion in the form of devotees constantly speaking and expanding and explaining in so many different ways. Krishna says, Bhaktya Tvananyaya Shakya, aham evam vidorjuna, tyatum drashtum cha tattvena pravishtum cha parantapa. He says, only by unalloyed devotional service, my dear Arjuna, will you be able to understand this knowledge, or understand me and the knowledge I am giving? Will you be able to see me? And will you be able to enter in the mysteries of my understanding, of my pastimes, of my everything about me? Before Brahma, when he approached the Lord, begging him for understanding, what did he say? He said, you've given me this wonderful service. I'm going to be acting as a sub-creator. Please protect me from pride. Pride is such a dangerous thing. And then the Lord said to him that Jnanam paramaguyam te tad vijnana samanvitam. He said, this knowledge is so confidential, and together with its realization, it is even more confidential. And therefore, dear Brahmaji, this is my indication that you must understand it in the proper way, that grihana gaditam maya. You must understand it as I am explaining it and as I am teaching you how to put it into practice. Otherwise, and then he said in the next verse, and how will it be done? No. Astute madanugrahat, by my mercy. So this is the factor. This is what allows us to understand the Srimad Bhagavatam. It is the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And to come in contact with that mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we have to situate ourselves in the parampara. And our parampara, coming from Srila Prabhupada, is to go out and give our lives to give this Krishna consciousness. And the best way to give Krishna consciousness, as Srila Prabhupada said, what is the use of your 3-minute talk? Give Prabhupada. Give Prabhupada in the form of his books. And then the people will be blessed, and we will be even more blessed. Because as Srila Prabhupada said, our duty is to simply give this transcendental knowledge. It is up to Krishna if they take it or they don't take it. But our duty is to give it, and we must give it with full conviction, with the conviction that this is what this person needs. I must be the instrument of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement will go on, with us or without us. But with us means we have the opportunity to become purified by participating. It will go on. He's already declared that to Sanatana Goswami and Haridas Thakur, that this will go on. The whole universe will be saved. But we're getting the opportunity because this is the mood of the Lord. The mood of the Lord is to give credit to his devotees. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could have liberated the whole universe in snap of his fingers or wave of his hand. But he wants the devotees to have that credit. No. He gave so much credit to our parampara. And what to speak of the credit he has given to Srila Prabhupada. As I was speaking to a few devotees yesterday, and I said, actually Srila Prabhupada has done something amazing. From my point of view, he has reestablished the mood that was there when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was present. Because there's one movement, many gurus, all within one movement. It's not the Vedic system where you have somebody over here teaching, somebody over here teaching according to... Everyone is teaching according to the realization of Srila Prabhupada. No. And this was, everyone was under the banner of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu 500 plus years ago. No. And the 6 Goswamis, no. Everyone was nurtured by the presence of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And now we have that opportunity to understand Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu being nurtured by Srila Prabhupada and his transcendental books. So there are many other things I thought I could say about this verse, but time is up, more or less, and I'll leave a couple minutes for any questions or comments.
Hare Krishna, the points you made were so wonderful. Yesterday, I was reading in Chaitanya Charitamrita that after Rath Yatra, Lord Chaitanya told his associates to go and give Krishna consciousness to the Chandalas and even the low-class people. Now, when some people in India criticize this preaching to Westerners or low-class, does that mean that they have that tendency to twist the knowledge like you said, or they just never read it in the first place? It's there in the book, obviously.
Everyone needs the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Yes.
No. And of course, Srila Prabhupada says, especially one purport, 10th canto, 1st chapter, verse number 4, Srila Prabhupada said, even though India has become degraded, meaning trying to take in all kinds of Western habits, and Prabhupada said, still, everyone knows that they are not this body. I mean, they may not know it fully, obviously, but they understand, at least theoretically they understand. Prabhupada said, and whenever we have a pandal program, thousands of people will come. I remember one pandal program in Delhi when I was fortunate enough to attend. On that one program, Prabhupada spoke in Hindi. Usually he would speak in English, but he spoke that time in Hindi. And none of us understood, but at the same time, we were talking to one another. We felt like we understood just by hearing from Srila Prabhupada's potent transcendental voice. We felt like we understood. But I was amazed, we put up the tents. There was nobody around where we put up this big park. And when it came time for the program, thousands of people, so many, the place was full. So that is the blessing of India, and therefore Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that if you're born in India, you have a duty. And Gauranga Prabhu and I spoke about this, that the Indian devotees will have to follow the instruction of Srila Prabhupada and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You have to go out. You have to cross the ocean. We have to follow Srila Prabhupada. Those who are qualified, obviously. Many have crossed the ocean for other purposes, but now the sincere devotees have to cross the ocean for the purpose of giving Krishna consciousness. This is the order of the Lord. So, therefore, everyone who's born in India, you have a double duty. We all have a double duty because we have to deal with our material bodies and family and everything, and we have to become pure devotees of the Lord. Very, very demanding, because the most valuable thing must be demanding.
Hare Krishna. Maharaj, what is it about this particular verse and the feelings of separation that Uddhava is having that relates to the Chaturshloki Bhagavatam. So, why is the Chaturshloki?
Well, because he requested Chaturshloki. Why did he request that? Because he's basically saying, give me the basic understanding, as I mentioned in the beginning. Not that I expect that you will give me something special, but just give me your mercy. And if you give me something special, Prabhupada says in one of the previous purports, if you give me something special, so be it. He was also anticipating that he would get something special. He wanted to solidify his feelings that he had felt in Vrindavan. He wanted Krishna, and therefore Krishna spoke these more intimate. He confirmed everything that Uddhava had felt when he went to Vrindavan. That's basically, and Maitreya Muni couldn't understand that. He could not understand. Just like nowadays, so many people cannot understand. Just like one time Srila Prabhupada was on a train and one man sat in front of him and he said, Swamiji, why does Krishna take other men's wives? And Prabhupada said, are you married? Yes. You have a wife? I said, yes. He said, actually everyone belongs to Krishna. Therefore you are taking Krishna's wives. No. So this is the understanding. We have time for one more question. Rameshwar Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Oh, okay. Here's
Hare Krishna.
he's got the microphone. So.
What you say is wonderful. It was wonderful class. I've just one little thing. In the beginning, you talked about mayavadi philosophy. And it is curious. I mean, when I became a devotee, I was surprised that there was a statement, I think in Padma Purana, that the Lord himself instructed Shiva in the presence of Parvati to go down and preach mayavad, or this philosophy. And so it's puzzling. Why would Krishna do that? There must be a purpose behind. And so then, coming a little later in Krishna Koda, I realized that Prabhupada said it's a snare. Mayavadi is a snare to catch people. He said this, consciously said this, a snare to catch somebody. Namely people who have this inkling that they may be God. And then even further, I was very surprised when I heard recently Prabhupada saying that actually Mayavadi philosophy is very useful because it protects the purity of devotional service. It protects the purity of devotional service. So there's a whole intention behind that if somebody knocks at the pearly gate, so to say, and say, I want to get in, and the doorman will say, well, what's your purpose? He said, I want to be God. There's a philosophy for it. You can go right there. So it's a snare that, like a king, surrounds his castle with traps so that unauthorized persons cannot go. So in that sense, if there's a tinge of Mayavadi philosophy in a devotee, he cannot go to the spiritual world because that's what Krishna absolutely doesn't like, this idea.
Haribol. So, Rameshwar Prabhu, since I saw you first,
Srila Prabhupada is describing that when Uddhava heard these 4 slokas, he received, and he uses this phrase, self-knowledge of love. And I think we're all trying to see what is that connection from those 4 shlokas to awakening this love. It seems like it's awakening from it in the way Prabhupada's describing this in the purport. He received self-knowledge of love and thus felt so aggrieved in the mood of separation. I think we're all trying to see how that leads to that. Yeah. At least I am, and I believe that was his question.
Yes. So now the time has expired. Thank you all very much. Srila Prabhupada